it's the ratchetness or whatever, those types of things. Like we don't have to make that who we are.
You shake it.
Can I just first ask, what is this event,
Oh
and
God.
what are we going to see in the next couple of days here in DC?
We have received so much interest over a period of time in the sort of youth Black conservative movement. It felt like we really wanted to harness the power and the opportunity and invite everyone to DC, first and foremost, to bring them to conservative ideas. A major hurdle that the Black community faces is not having the resources to get to different ideas and sort of being locked inside of a bubble. And having them listen to speakers that they perhaps haven't heard before, Dr. Ben Carson, Larry Elder, people who are routinely mocked in our community. So this is the first ever opportunity to do that in DC, and we're really excited that it's happening this weekend.
Charlie, what are you hoping that the president gets out of these interviews?
Well, I first want to take a step back and just give Candace Owens credit for changing national conversation around the conservative kind of perspective. Here, when I first met Candace, one of the first things she said was, Charlie, I think we can have a young Black leadership summit that can be a lot bigger than any of the pundits or the consultants would ever dream. And I mean, tomorrow, 400 plus young Black leaders from across the country. That's an accomplishment, especially of a conservative, tilt, if you will.
And the number could have been much higher.
That's right. And so the number could have been higher, and it was the last minute influx of interest. And we had probably 5x that in applicants and an inquiries. But what Candace Owens and our urban engagement director, Brandon Tatum, have done at Turning Point USA to really garner more interest amongst the Black community for conservative values, I think it's worth having the conversation, and it's something that, given all the recent, news and attention around these issues, I think is something that
Stick your head all the way in her butt. Go ahead.
Obviously, a bit of skepticism.
Say
As long
what?
as I've been in the
Nothing, go ahead.
conservative politics, as long as I've been a conservative, which is probably about sophomore year of high school, there have been conversations.
It's gonna get interesting in a second when Crystal Ball and Candace Owens gonna go back and forth.
Ben Carson, others.
I know. I saw it.
come forward
You saw this?
But-
Oh, I sent this to y'all. Yeah.
What are you seeing that's
Yeah.
different now, really? Like, why is it? I mean, to Charlie's
But
point,
let
he's
the
saying that
people
you changed
see.
the conversation. How and why is the conversation different?
It's funny that you say that because I was able to meet with Dr. Ben Carson early on this year, and we spoke about that. Like, what are the differences? Why are people paying a little more attention now? And I think that, and to his credit, in the past, the conversation was almost so intellectual that it was hard for people to digest and process and to understand. And because the left had won the culture war, it was easy for them to mock them, to see a skit where perhaps Dr. Ben Carson or Dr. Condoleezza Rice are being mocked. And I think I'm a little more of a fighter, definitely in terms of starting my channel on YouTube and wanting it to be colloquial and wanting it to feel familiar, like you were talking to your brother and sister, and sort of taking back some of the turf that was lost on the culture war by making fun of people on the left in the same way that they make fun of us. I think that sort of helped bridge the gap and make people more interested in having the discussion.
Does
Okay.
it bother you that there's no prominent African Americans in the White House itself? Do you think
sure
that's
there is.
important?
Jerron,
I mean-
Dr. Ben Carson's part of the executive branch.
And-
That's
Y'all-
not, that's not
Well,
true.
within the White House
Jerron
itself,
is an executive with
what
Jared
is
Kushner.
his role?
He's a DAP, which is a
Remember this?
deputy
Yeah,
assistant
y'all remember
president
this
of the
question.
top tier. So that's not true.
Who are other individuals in the White House?
Well, I want to go back and answer your question. So,
Yeah.
and one thing that we always speak when we speak to conservatives about is we have to stop believing in the solution that because somebody is Black, they represent my interests. We learned that lesson via Barack Obama. I mean, he was in the White House
That's
for 8
true.
years and didn't do much for the Black community. So I'm not interested in the color of people's skin.
So
I'm
it's-
interested in what they do and
Yeah,
what they
so
accomplish.
I'm really interested in your perspective here. So to you having, like, you don't look at, it is an administration that has more white men than past administrations have had.
Yeah, and-
but that doesn't bother you. You don't think that diversity is
no,
important?
not at all. I think that we have to stop believing that diversity is the color of people's skin, because if you have like the Black Caucus, for example, which didn't stand up and applaud when Trump announced that we had the lowest ever unemployment in the Black community, that's concerning to me. So a big part of the conversation that we open is in making people understand that's an illusion that the left has sold, that somehow because somebody matches my skin color, because somebody matches my gender, they have my best interest at heart.
That's
And
kind of that part
relationship.
is true.
I have to ask about Kanye.
I know.
You two have been seen, photographed with, spend time with Kanye. He, I got a tremendous. We have to speak about him on the show. Got a tremendous amount of attention from the media from a recent meeting in the Oval Office. How does he,
Wait, I gotta let people know that this is an old clip, y'all. Okay, it's crazy that they're talking about Kanye and Candace Owens. This is a really old clip. So it was posted on October 10th, but this is from years ago because
But see, but this was while Trump was in office,
yeah.
and they had, this is Candace and Kanye when they, began their friendship and, somewhat working together because, like, neither one of them are Republicans. Like myself, I'm not a Republican, but I'm a conservative. I have a conservative outlook on the world and values. So that's where we're similar. You know what I'm saying? But
I just had to say that because the conversation and everything sounded like it could have been happening right now.
Right now, well, to some extent, I guess you could say that, but
So I just want to make sure people wasn't confused on that. Yeah. So let me let it play some more because the argument that they get into is great, and
it is.
And Candace has good points. But
does the other woman have any good points?
She's eating her up, I think, in a lot of ways, because the thing is the hypocrisy, the part where she got her was when she said, because she asked her about the diversity within the White House, and then she was like, no, color of skin is not the diversity that we're talking about. But then she's like, well, I just brought 100 black conservatives to the White House. It's like, okay, well, you just said that the color is not the diversity. So what are you talking about? That was like boom for me. Check it.
Key factor. Look, I feel like conservatives play this game that we go back and forth. If anybody who's famous starts talking in any way that conservatives like, we embrace them right away, and then sometimes we feel like we get burned later. They're not as conservative as we thought. Kanye has such a huge megaphone. He's obviously somewhat of a controversial figure as well, based on what he said in the past. Charlie, just to start with you. How does he play into all this other than, I want to hear from both of you on this, but how does he play into all this other than just getting a lot of attention? You know what I mean? How is he changing the conversation?
I'll be the first one to admit, I was your typical macroeconomic loving kind of conservative individual that wasn't part of the culture that,
you got a high paperback in your bag.
I know what I mean. Like,
this guy's an empty suit.
I'm reading Free to Choose and Ludwig Mises. And I think it's amazing that someone like Kanye West is broadening the conversation. And it was Candace that opened my eyes to this.
Seriously?
And
oh my God.
I wasn't that I was resistant, but I was like, really, Candace? Like, wait, what do you mean that we can? She said, no, you don't understand.
Oh my God.
Kanye West can change the national conversation on these issues, and I think that he's more of a Trump supporter than
he's sticking his head in Kanye's ass now.
Our friend Dave Rubin saying this back in September of 2017, kind of predicting the Kanye movement, I guess you could say.
The Kanye
movement, yeah.
Oh my God.
And I think that's true.
Oh my
I've sort of followed Kanye's career
He's just a buffer.
So when I was asked that question of who I admire, I said Kanye West because he's always been, long before Donald Trump came down the escalator, it was Kanye West that's been the battering ram against political correctness. And I knew that someone with his personality wasn't going to be able to exist comfortably on the left anymore because we are now being told what to think, how we have to think, who we have to love, who we have to hate. And that's not comfortable for anybody that's an artist. And their stranglehold on culture is really what Kanye is sort of taking a stab at. Now, I want to be clear, based off of my conversations with him, he's not a Republican, and I think that that's an important thing to distinguish and to make clear distinction to make, because in many ways I've said I'm not a Republican either, but he is a free thinker and he values ideas. And unfortunately, if you believe in the ability to think and to have a dialogue, that is a position that's on the right today.
So Candace, I do want to ask you about news of the day. Obviously, we have all these explosive devices that have been sent to prominent critics of this administration.
Right.
And in a tweet, you originally said you thought there was zero chance conservatives sent bombs. I think you took that tweet down.
Yeah.
But you later added, it isn't conservatives that are chasing people down in offices and restaurants. It isn't conservatives that have weaponized sexual assault as a means to political gain. I stand by my opinion that when it comes to political violence, the left is the likely culprit.
That's correct. So we've seen that.
So you think that it was the left or Democrats who sent
well,
these spike bombs?
I think we're all entitled to have an opinion. We don't have any facts surrounding this, and Twitter is a venue where you're allowed to express your opinions and beliefs. And
but just to be clear, so that's not based on any facts. That's just your
it couldn't possibly be based on facts. We don't have any evidence other than the fact that they're investigating it. But
I'll come to Candace's.
I do want to finish this by just saying that
shut up.
It is my belief, when you take a look at the conversation and things that have gone on and the increasing violence that's gone on, it has purely been a leftist tactic to stall things, delay the administration, and to fearmonger. So as a matter of opinion, I do believe that when we get to the resolution, the bottom of this, and we do have facts, we're going to say that this is orchestrated by the left, but by no means is that opinion rooted in any proof, because we don't have anything yet to go off of.
I could certainly point to Charlottesville. I could point to other acts that happen. I could point to Dylan Roof. I mean, there's certainly acts of violence that have come that
not a
way.
conservative.
But do you see how far back you have to go to do that?
Charlottesville?
Yeah, that's literally starting at the beginning of his administration. Look at all of the things that have gone on.
I don't want to have this debate because ugliness can come from both sides.
No, I'm just saying that you brought it up.
I do want to ask you though.
Just answering the question.
I mean, you've got a big platform.
I do.
Right? And you have a powerful voice.
Thank you.
And kudos to
Thank
you
you.
for creating that.
Thank you.
How do you view the responsibility that comes with that?
I view the responsibility of just being a person that maintains my ability to have an opinion. I express an opinion, and no means that I say that I have just found the facts and this is related.
Yeah.
And I always
You said
reserve the
there's
right.
0% chance.
Yeah. I said I'm going to go out and say that there is a 0% chance that this was sent by conservatives. I find all the things that are going on, the caravan of illegals, the packages that are being sent,
And you
Brett
think the
Kavanaugh's
and just to
confirmation.
clarify, you think the caravan too was
I
organized
find
by
it to be
Democrats?
incredibly suspicious timing, so that they are meant to get to the border on the day of the election. Again, this is not rooted in fact, but you do have to understand I am very much entitled to my opinion, and Twitter is my platform.
Candace, I have one more.
Just one more here, because
let him go.
I wanted to get
Stop
to know you
interrupting.
before you came on.
Yeah.
And I'm really interested in your perspective
For
because
sure.
I think you're a fascinating person.
Thank you.
There was another tweet
you.
that said the Democratic Party is comprised of racist white liberals.
That is correct.
Am I a racist white liberal?
Well, let's go back. And let's say, I will say this, that many people in the party are not aware of own racism. Let's go back to an early part of this conversation where you said to me, are you concerned about the color in the White House? Why would you ask me that question?
Because you speak about Black issues.
No, but why would you ask me? Well, let's get to really the nucleus of this. Why did you ask me that question today?
Because I'm
Why did you feel
interested
that I
in your
needed to be
perspective.
concerned about that?
Because you're bringing a whole group of young African American leaders to the White
Okay,
House.
so this is something that I talk about often, is that in many ways, white liberals don't realize that you put on that the racism and the conversations that we have.
So you're saying I'm a racist.
You haven't let me finish my statement. You keep cutting me off.
Go ahead.
Okay. The emphasis that you place is always on having a discussion about race. Okay. You guys are insistent on having a conversation about race and telling us that we should see and implying that we should see race everywhere. And I don't agree with that. If you don't look at me according to the color of my skin, you would simply ask me how I thought that Trump was doing as a president. But instead, you try to drum up a conversation that's surrounded by race
But
by asking me, are there
you're
enough Black
bringing a
people in the
whole
White
group
House?
of young Black leaders
You
to the
see
White House.
color,
So
I
clearly
don't.
That's something that's important to you.
But why are you talking
But
about?
then why make it that you're going to bring young Black leaders to the White House? I mean, this is sort of absurd.
Because the media, as in the whole,
This is absurd. You're bringing this group to the White House.
it's not absurd. I'm making perfect sense.
But
You're
I
just
just
not
want
following the logic.
to be clear.
Yeah.
I just want to be clear.
I'm trying to be extremely clear with you.
I know.
Bringing the Black conservatives to the White House.
Me as a racist white
I think
liberal.
that you're not. First off, you put those words in my mouth, and you keep saying
You
it. So I'm not.
tweeted it.
I said that the Democrat Party is comprised of racist white liberals. Is every person in the party racist? No, but you're not aware of the fact that you put these racist tones out into the media. This is why we have to bring the Black conservatives to the president, because you create a narrative when you're on TV like you did today.
Do you
Are
think
you
that
comfortable with
I'm
the
going to have you on video later because I have questions for you as well, but we actually have to get out of the
Do
segment
you
now.
think that language is helpful, though? I mean, just in
I
terms
think
of the
that
national conversation.
I could
because
ask you, do you think
I
it's
have-
helpful to ask me just because I'm a Black woman if I'm comfortable with the amount of color that's on the administration? Do you think that that's helpful?
I think it's helpful and interesting to
It's
know
not.
your perspective.
It's not. It's you
They look in each other's eyes and shit.
an undertone that Donald Trump is racist, and it's
No,
wrong.
no, no.
Yeah.
I was
But
waiting for the
Candace,
first
the
punch
reason
to
why-
get thrown. Who gonna throw the first punch?
I just want
I
to
was like,
say,
cat
You're
fight.
looking at me on
Wow.
my skin color, making a bunch of, and
you
making a
called me
bunch
a
of
racist
deductions.
white liberal.
I did
You
not.
did not.
You said that. You want to take
But
that.
I want to
You
say,
said
look,
that.
here's what I want to say.
You quoted a tweet and then you made it about me.
I appreciate.
So you were
I'm
not
a
added,
Democrat.
but you were not added in that tweet. So do not say
I'm
that I
a
called you
Democrat.
that, because that's
When you say the
dishonest. And
party
we
is
are on,
comprised of
and we
racist
are,
white
and we are on
liberals,
TV. So you
you're
can
calling me
run.
racist.
Okay, so I did not call you a racist. You're using the typical leftist tactic of trying to make yourself a
Here's what I
victim,
want to say.
which is not
Here-
what I
hold on, hold on.
No, but we're
I do
actually
wanna say,
well beyond
I
time.
want
Well,
to
she's
say
making herself
that
a
I think
victim and
it's
pretending that I
important
came here and called her
I think it's
racist. So
important
this is a
that we
typical leftist
not-
tactic.
that we not demonize our opponents.
And I think it's important that you not demonize my president.
And one thing that I try very hard to do is to criticize the policies and criticize people who are in positions of
And
power.
I'm not sure how you
but
were doing
not-
that by pointing out
but
the color
not-
in the administration.
but not to criticize the people who support the
You
president.
literally spoke
That's
about
something I
skin
tried
color,
very hard to do.
but you're not doing a very
and I
good job
think
of
it's
it.
really important.
I think it's really important that you be aware that just because I'm a black woman, you don't need to ask me a
fellow
question as
Americans.
basic enough
Do
as
you
saying
think that
how
it's-
much color is in the
Do you
administration.
think it's a problem to demonize our fellow
I
Americans?
think what's problematic is that you are creating a simulation that is dishonest, that is accusing our president of being racist based off of
I
the
didn't
color of the
say
people that
that.
are in the. That's exactly
didn't
what you
say
asked
that.
me a question.
All
That's
right.
what you implied.
Okay, I actually really appreciate you two coming in very much, and I look forward to getting to ask you some questions of my own at some point later on. And we're gonna have to end the segment there. But thank you, and good luck at the White House today. And thank you for bringing young African American youth.
They lost control of that segment, didn't they?
Real
they
quick.
lost control of that one. Comments, man. What y'all think? A lot was said.
I've been kind of in and out of it. I ain't gonna lie, I was dropping my trailer, so I didn't really catch everything. But
I think that, that's why I was saying the name of the show is The Power Grifting. And I think that Candace Owens is grifting. And I think that this video is an example of it, because her touting the fact that she's bringing black conservatives to the White House and then wanting to say that it's not about color. Diversity is not in the color of people's skin. So which is it, Candace?
yeah, I don't know, bro. Sometimes I think she just be talking.
She get paid for that talking. She's blown up. She's rich as fuck, and just gonna keep racking in the cash.
Yeah.
Well, I think that woman, like they invited her on there so that she could do mostly what she did in the end, and regardless of like I'm gonna just say like her, regardless of what's going on in the White House, I mean, she's really trying to pick on her to a great extent, like at least trying to piss her off, get her angry, whatever. But it was just senseless. Like, I don't know. It is what it is. I'm still trying to see where she be lying or
Well,
making up.
she be flipping sides. That's what I mean by her, she doesn't really care. Like, she's not really, like, she's faking. Like, it's clear because of the, because how she jumps on, from one side to another on a particular topic or whatever. Like, she flows with the wind. And I'm not saying that she's not the only one that does that. Like, that is pretty much how it goes. But, we need to see what it is for what it is. You know what I mean? We need to see that what she's doing is sensationalizing. She's really intelligent and she knows what to say. And some of the stuff is actually true, but it's used in a way to just sensationalize people so that they can be easily manipulated. She works for the powers that be. She's a soldier. She's good at what she does. But she's really overall an enemy of the people, whether you're black or white or conservative or liberal, because the peoples that you have out here that are just sowing confusion, that wants us to be fighting with each other about this and that. Like I say, when we was talking in the other show, like you throw in the topic of transgender and now nothing gets done. So that's what these kind of people do. This is what they do so that the powers that be, the corporations, can keep on just raking in the cash while we're fighting over fucking transgender bathrooms or whatever. And they get paid a lot of money. It's a very lucrative job. You tell people what they want to hear, you sensationalize them, and you leave out the door with the bag. And then the big boss is really leaving out the door with the huge bag. Because you know, if they paying her all the money they're paying her, it's got to be for a reason. Nobody pays you money without wanting a freaking return on their freaking investment. Anyways, that's how I see it. What do y'all think?
Maybe I'm too simple, but you know, it looks like the girl got invited to their show just so that she can have 5 minutes or so to try to make her look bad when I think she failed miserably. Like, I mean, I had to realize that some people, you know, some of us live, but you know, well, all of us live based on what we know, what we see, what we understand, and there's some of us that have a different angle and see things a little bit differently because, you know, maybe we was, you know, our parents raised us with a different perspective or whatever. So it's a lot of things I think that this girl be saying that is just over a lot of people's heads. And then, you know, she says something that they don't believe. Now she's a coon, and it's just I don't think that's fair because people just don't really don't understand what is happening. Or you trying to make a sound bite out of something she said? Because like I said, I'm still trying to find a place where they say that you know, where she lies or she's
a grifter. That's what it is. She's a grifter. It's not that what did you say, that she's a coon or whatever. It's that she's grifting. That's what she's doing. And that's what we have to be aware of. That's like the point of what I'm trying to say.
Grifting as in like she's flip-flops from like on
she says what needs to be said for her to cash her check. What I need to say today? What y'all want me to say today? Thank you, God, for this day. We have lived everything in our life, our health, our family, the guidance you have given us, allow us guidance to the path of righteousness. Amen.
Really, I'ma get that bitch. Revenge is a dish best served cold. She took my son, now my soul is cold. He took my daddy, now my soul is old.